It's Monday and it is March the 1st. This year is moving along, whether you wanted to move along or not. But before we get started with our member connection, find out what's happening with one of our sponsors.
My name is Amber Longhorn, and I am the Director of Jackson Health Systems Small Business Enterprise Program. Jackson is proud to partner with the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce in bringing you this video series. We hope you'll gain valuable information and tools on doing business in Miami-Dade County, but especially with Jackson Health System. We invite you to visit us online for more information at www.jacksonsmallbusiness.org.
Well, again, it is March 1st, and I'm excited to have Miss Teresa Oliver on with us. Wow, Teresa, I can't believe here we are. A few more days to be the beginning of spring. Made it through this winter. Obviously, still in the middle of this pandemic. But here we are talking to you about what it is that you do. I mean, you're in the financial world, being an accountant. So tell the world a little bit about Teresa Oliver and where you're from. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me, Eric. This is an honor. I am from the Boogie Down Bronx, New York. Yes. And I was born and raised in New York. I'm a true to heart New Yorker. I didn't start my career. I thought I was going to be a doctor. That's what I wanted to be when I was growing up. But through trial and error, I never gave up, and I continued to pursue college and my degree. And my last major change, which was finance, I thought I was going to be like the people on Wall Street. I took my first accounting class and fell madly in love, and I've been chasing it ever since. That was 12 years ago now. So, yeah, that's a little bit about me, where I'm from, how I started my accounting journey. And I'm here now, and I'm still loving it just like it was day one.
And I'm gonna chime in about, like you said, boogie down the Bronx. New York is such a interesting place. With what say, how many boroughs? 5 boroughs.
5. Mm-hmm.
5 boroughs. And you talk about Manhattan, obviously, the Bronx and Brooklyn, and so on and so forth, and definitely distinct in their own sense.
Oh yeah.
And you guys, definitely, New York being the epicenter of finance. Yeah. And, you mentioned that you wanted to be a doctor, but you fell in love with finance. So tell us about how that even began. And the fact that, like you said, you wanted to be a doctor, but you fell into finance. So let's go a little deeper into that.
Sure. So growing up, I was a sick child. I suffered from asthma really badly, and I was always in the hospital. And there was something about the service that I received from the doctors and nurses, and it just touched my heart. And I said, I want to be able to do this for other children. I want other children to be able to feel how I feel. I feel cared for, I feel protected, and, even loved, because I was such a regular, they all knew me. So
Right.
I said, well, that's what I want to do. I want to be a doctor. I want to provide this feeling, these cures, this comfort, this wellness, if you will, for other children. So I wanted to be a pediatrician. So life didn't quite turn out exactly the way that I wanted. And so college was always in my plans, but it was harder to get to. And so I started out at a community college, and I started on the pre-med track, if you will, very focused on math and sciences. And 9/11 happened. my first semester, first month in.
Wow.
And so that really just kind of shook me. And I took a break. And my mom, some months later, after I had, because I went back to school after everything happened with 9/11, but I just wasn't there. I wasn't connected with it anymore. And so my second passion was fashion design.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so a few months later, my mom reached out to me and she was like, we got to get you in college. We got to get you back in college. You know, you can't give up, you know. And I said, okay. And so she found a school for me in California, Brooks College, and I went there for fashion design. And I stayed there for about 9 months. I met some of the greatest people in the world. We're still friends, more like sisters. And came back home after like I said, 9 months. And I took some time off. I worked. Then I went to FIT to continue fashion design. And then I realized that it's not for me. Not for me in the sense that I don't want to pursue it as a career because I don't want my creativity I don't want my financial status to be based off of my creativity. I don't want to be put in a box where I'm forced to be creative. I just want that to flow. So I do still engage in fashion design. I love it. But anyway, I went into business administration and then, like I said, finance at the University of Baltimore and took my first accounting class. And my professor danced in the classroom. And that's how much he loved it. And I just, like I said, fell in love with it from day one. And I've chased it ever since. And I, you know, what I try to do in my business is make accounting as easy, if you will, for the regular person, right? For people who don't understand it. And I've been able to successfully do that. You know, I worked in corporate accounting for quite a few years, and I've been able to transform what I learned from corporate accounting, what I learned from school, and then also being a small business and really just put that out there and help my clients on a, how do you say, like a people's accountant, right? On a very, you know, here level.
So yeah, so you are the owner of Millennial Accountants LLC, and it says a data-driven firm focused on building systems within an accounting foundation for small and mid-sized businesses. And you know, you've worked with experience with Fortune 500 companies. You were given the opportunity back in 2015 to run a family-owned business, and you started your own. So let's talk about that transition and
Sure.
talk about that a little bit.
Sure. So it was shortly after I moved to Texas, and my father came across an opportunity, and he saw fit to have my brother and I present to him a proposal of businesses, right? Of investing and making money, you know, making the money make money. And so we did that. My father was very, how do you say, he was very wowed and blown away by our presentation. And so he gave us the go ahead and start the business. My brother, the brainchild of our juice bar called Juice to Fit. We opened a juice bar in Bayonne, New Jersey. And I did everything on the back end, and my brother took care of everything on the front end. And
Let me stop you there for a second.
yes.
Wait a minute. Boogie Down, Bronx, California. Um,
Yeah.
Juice bar in New Jersey. So I mean,
Yeah.
Maryland. You know.
Yeah. North Carolina. Yeah. I've been around a bit.
Okay, sorry to break that up. So your brother was behind the juice bar. Go ahead.
Yeah, so he was the brainchild behind the juice bar, and my dad is a carpenter. My dad is a carpenter, so he helped build everything in the juice bar, and my brother set everything on fire. Like he, you know, marketed it. He came up with the menu, everything. And so, like I said, I was the CFO, my brother was the COO, and my dad was the CEO. And so, you know, it was a very humbling experience, if you will. I've never had my own small business. I did a little freelance with crocheting a couple of years before, but I never had my own business where, we had like 30 employees.
Oh, wow.
We had two locations, the first one in Bayonne, New Jersey, and then we had one in Staten Island, and that was inside of a supermarket. So we were what do you call a concessionaire. And so managing all of that, making sure that, we were following, we were in compliance and following all the laws. I mean, we were in two states, Jersey and
Right.
New York. So we had to follow the requirements for that, getting inventory, and then, so like what I do now in my business, right, where we scale the businesses, where we build the systems, that was really like my first hands-on experience building it from the ground up, and it was personal. It was very personal to me. And I was able to kind of pull out of it being so personal and think about it on a more logical and business perspective. And I think we did really good. I mean, we came out the box in the first year making six figures. So that was huge. Like three people from the Bronx, with no experience. I mean, my dad had a carpentry business years before, but nothing to this extent. So it was really like an honor to have that experience, for my dad to trust us, with doing that. And I think it really just lit the fire under our entrepreneurial journeys. And from there, each of us just continue to pursue our own individual entrepreneurial journeys.
So here you're talking about accounting systems, and I know you mentioned it in terms of starting a juice bar, and that kind of helped you hone your skills and what that meant. And so now you're helping businesses scale. So talk about these systems.
Sure. So in order to make money, you have to spend money, right? And ideally, you want to spend over time a lower percentage of your revenue than when you first start out. And in order to do that, you have to build systems to scale your time, energy, and resources so that you can reduce your expenses percentage over time. So, for example, let's take something very simple: employees, right? You're ready to hire employees, or maybe you already have employees. How do you scale that, right? How do you reduce the expense of paying wages? Because a lot of businesses don't think that how can we, when we have these rules and regulations that we have to pay minimum wage, so on and so forth. You do that by operation, right? So you want to track your employees so much so that you know that what you're paying them and the time that you're paying them for is being optimized to what your business needs to have done. Right. So I'm not a fan of the hourly model, if you will, the hourly, pay model. Again, I've worked in corporate America, and an 8-hour day, I probably worked 4 of those hours. Right. So when you talk about building, scaling and the system behind that and the operation, as a business owner, you want to know that your employees are working the full 8 hours and not 4 hours. Meaning you don't want to have employees there just for fluff, just to say that you have employees, right? You want to make sure that you're getting the most out of your employees for the time that you're paying for. That comes down to making sure that you've clearly defined positions, that you haven't hired a full-time employee when you really only need a part-time employee, right? Or if you can, hire an outsourced company to handle a particular task or a particular set of tasks, as opposed to, taking on the responsibility and the additional financial burden of an employee. So that is just like one part of scaling the business, and it's to speak about it, right? In this platform and in this way, it seems like it's a lot, and in fact, it is a lot. But it is manageable and doable. You have to take it in bite-sized pieces and start implementing things really from the beginning, right? And so those are the systems that we build. I can tell you another system. Let's see. with your vendors, right? So if you purchase the same supplies or products um, over and over again from the same vendor, number one, you should have good pay terms, right? Whether that's a net 30 or a net 50 or a net 60, whatever that looks like. And if you have, pay terms, if you have early pay terms, right, where you get like a percentage discount for paying early, that helps you with your cash flow, right? And of course, it helps the vendor with their cash flow. But anyway, when you begin to purchase products and or services from a vendor continuously, then you need to have a conversation with that vendor and discuss options on how you can reduce your, let's say, hourly amount and come up with a deal, right? And negotiate some kind of package, some kind of deal in addition to pay terms. What that's going to do is, first of all, when you have pay terms with your vendor, it helps you with your cash flow. It helps your business to manage your cash flow, because you can get the products and or services that you need today, but you don't have to pay for it for 30 days or 60 days. So what does that mean? That gives you that amount of time to hopefully sell, or bring in the cash so that you can pay that vendor. That's another part of the system. My company specializes in service-based businesses that operate a fleet of vehicles. So your construction trade industry. And so when you talk about vehicles, right, you have to consider how much money is this vehicle making me. Most small businesses don't consider that, right? They just see it as a tool to provide a product or service, as opposed to seeing it as um, a, um, a money maker or a bottom line breaker, right?
Right.
Essentially. So you want to make sure, number one, just like in our individual lives, we need to make sure that our cars are top notch so that it can transport us where we need to go safely and efficiently. Same thing for businesses. But of course, it's a lot more intricate than that, because you don't just have one vehicle, and it's not just about you. It's about your employees as well. So you have to make sure all of that is running well, because when a vehicle is running well, it gets better mileage, so on and so forth. And you want to reflect all of that in the data that you're receiving, so that you can analyze what it is that your business is doing, what it can do, and what you need to change to reach your goals.
So let me ask you this. Is there one particular or a group of businesses that you focus on, or does it matter?
So our ideal client is, like I said, in the construction trade. So that's your pest control, landscaping, HVAC, plumbing, gardening, electricians, etc., janitorial. We also work with transportation and logistics companies, but we serve all individuals and small and mid-sized businesses. That's just where we have built quite a few processes, if you will, and kind of like special, processes, workflows, if you will. We've built that out specifically to speak to that client. But accounting overall is pretty general, right? So like what my firm does, what accountants do in a general sense. I'm not going to get specific, because there's a difference between bookkeeper, accountant, CPA, tax preparer, EA, etc. But on a general basis, right, we document, record the business transactions, analyze them, and then publish financial statements. Now, in the middle of that is where you get your ideal client, if you will, where you build special processes and systems to address particular issues that a particular industry faces regularly, right? But across the board, we serve everybody, right?
Okay.
Because we have that ability, and because accounting as a whole is pretty much an umbrella, if you will. It's pretty general, and you will be more than satisfied with the service.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So we are, I guess, in the beginning or middle of PPP, the second round of PPP. What are you seeing out there, and what is your advice to companies? Because I always say a lot of us businesses did not receive any type of relief because they didn't have the back of their house together. So
Right.
what's your perspective on moving forward, and it's from that perspective?
Okay, so what I have seen is that a lot of people don't realize the requirements to be a business. And so they do not transact business as such. And, I think a lot of it has to do with the access to information. People are encouraged to start a business, start an LLC, but they don't have the background information to assist them with setting it up properly. And it's not even about, hiring an outsourced accounting firm or some kind of, very intricate system. It's really about the basics, separation of personal and business, and making sure that you're recording all of your income and all of your expenses and keeping that, again, completely separate from your personal. That is going to help you in and of itself to figure out how much money your business has earned and what your expenses are, and to see how much you do qualify for the PPP. So that's really something that I'm seeing across the board, is that a lot of people, a lot of businesses don't know that they need to take care of this. It's really been more a mindset of a freelancer, and I'm just making money, and they're taking that money and they're doing whatever with it. They're paying for whatever their supplies, their merchandise, their cost of goods sold, and they're not keeping track of it. And it's just like, it's almost like a hustle, and they're hustling, and they haven't removed that mentality and put on their business hat, like, hey, okay, wait, this is a business. There's certain things that I need to do. And it's not about perfection. It's not about having everything perfect. It's just about making sure that you have the basis of your business operations, business operational finances in order. That way you won't have to chase your tail, or pay an exorbitant amount of money for somebody to come and help you put your books together so that you can qualify for PPP or for any other, funding.
But I can't believe this time is like going by so quickly, and you're bringing such great information. If someone that is tuned in with us today wants to get more information about what it is that you do, um, obviously being an accountant, but this thing about building systems, I think it's so important. So how can they get in touch with you?
Sure, you can reach me at helpme@millennialaccountants.com. That's our email address. So that's helpme@millennialaccountants.com. And you can also reach us on our website at build.millennialbookkeeping services.com/MBAS.
Repeat that again.
Absolutely. So, and if you want, I can put it in the chat or the comments, and so you guys can have it. So you can
put it in the chat, and then
yeah.
also give a phone number.
Okay, absolutely. So you can reach us on our website at build, that's BUILD dot millennial bookkeeping services.com/MBAS. And I'm going to drop that in the chat. You can also reach us on the phone at 469-893-0590. Okay, so I'm going to put all of that in the chat, and you guys can reach us there. And we also built a program for individual, small, mid-sized businesses that wants to do their books, their back end by themselves. It's a DIY program. It's called Club CFO. And I'll link that in the chat as well. And it gives you all the tools and resources you need to handle your business's back end to avoid a situation where you don't have your books in order to apply for any kind of government funding like the PPP or any other funding thereof.
And I know you have a couple Facebook pages as well. Small Business Owners Toolkit.
Yes.
You want to tell people how to find you there?
Absolutely. It is Small Business Owners Toolkit on Facebook. That is a a group that we have where business owners can collaborate, talk to each other, and where we provide how-to videos and just talk about business overall. Let me say this: accounting is the foundation of every business. Nay, I say life, and that's just because of my interpretation. It's a give and a receive, right? A debit and a credit. So you cannot build your business without it affecting your bottom line, right? So whether you take it seriously, whether you actually do your bookkeeping or your accounting or what have you, it doesn't matter. It's something that it's a given, right? When you start a business, it's a given. It's there. It exists. If you access it, then I mean you can take your business to unlimited heights. If you don't access it and you neglect it, it may not happen now because sometimes business revenue is so high that you don't realize that you're losing money. And in time, whether it's a year, 5 years, or 10 years, you're going to end up going bust. That's a guarantee. Yeah. So foundation, the accounting is the foundation. And so that's kind of what we talk about in the group.
So go ahead and put your information in the chat. As I'm telling folks, if you want to learn more about the chamber, go to www.m-dcc.org. That's www.m-dcc.org. Or you can call the chamber at 305-751-8648, 305-751-8648. And this has been our chamber connection, connecting the dots with Ms. Teresa Oliver of Millennial Accountants, LLC. Teresa, thank you so much for spending your lunchtime with us today. And obviously, we look forward to seeing you on our Tuesday or Friday meetups at 4 o'clock. And we're going to have you give a class or on these building systems, because that's so very important, and it makes so much sense.
Thank you so much. It's been my career's work to figure it out.
I love that whole perspective of what it is that you're doing. It makes so much sense. So
thank you.
Again, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next Monday at noon. And thank you for always joining in and supporting the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.